Hey, we are back. Some time has passed. I have gotten myself a nice crisp glass of Rococo juice, and we have watched episode one of Phantom Blood, Dio the Invader. Honey, before we get into the plot, can I ask for your first impressions?
What's with the mask? Like Chekhov's gun hasn't been Chekhoved yet.
It hasn't been Chekhoved yet. Are you intrigued, though?
Yes.
Interesting that you bring that up because in the manga, we don't start where we start in the comic. We start with the creation of that mask. And it's interesting to me because I take a lot of creative writing classes, as you know. And one of the things they drum into your head again and again, shoot, is how important that opening page is. And in Araki's book, Manga and Theory and Practice, he goes on at length about how vital it is that that first page gives you all the information that you need. And I actually think that the animators made a better choice than Araki did back in 1986 when he was creating that first panel. Because what we open with in the anime is maybe the most JoJo scene. It has all the themes. So we open on a terrible carriage accident on a rainy day in England.
Is it supposed to be England?
Oh, did you not catch it's supposed to
I
be?
th
Yes, sweetie,
I
it's our
thought it was
native land.
generic
Well, it's...
European location.
No, it is England. I can't remember if the subtitles say that. You know what I think I did? I think I just had subtitles for closed captioning and not for translation. We were watching it in the Japanese, which I do recommend that people try the first time around because the voice acting is so exceptional. But yes, we are in England. Are you surprised to find out that JoJo's Bizarre Adventure takes place in England?
Yes.
Does it change how you view the events of episode one at all?
Not really. I think they're not very Anglo-centric, are they? They're a universal theme. I kind of expected, however, sort of like the mask somebody to put the mask on and turn into Jim Carrey and the mask
Oh my
at some
God, if
point.
only. Wow, that is the dream. But anyway, back to scene one. Yes, we are in England. It is 1868. I'm just checking my notes because 1864. I'm not good with numbers. So and as I was trying to say, we've got some massive JoJo themes. Number one, we've got a cruel twist of fate. This carriage has fallen off a cliff. A man has been horribly injured. His wife is dead. His baby is crying. We have a dead animal. Major theme of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Do not get attached. Whenever you see a cute animal, just say to yourself, okay, I'm not getting attached. And then another theme of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a very strange looking man who is patently up to no good. And this is Dario Brando. Now we have to pause again. This is the problem with talking about episode one. We have to talk about the names. Names are very important in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Every single name, with very few exceptions, is a reference to someone or something, usually involving music, sometimes involving movies, sometimes involving pop culture, and food. In this instance, can you guess where Dario Brando comes from?
Um, was it Dario the was it Fratelli the racing driver?
Oh, no, it's a different Dario. Dario Argento, the horror movie director. He was very big in the giallo space, but you're not a horror person, so I wouldn't expect that to be like what you think of. The Brando?
It could have been a contender.
Um,
Hey, Stella!
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
no, I'm stumped.
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. Experts are still trying to figure out
Yeah,
who is
I
that
think
famous Brando.
I think that there should be some sort of academic investigation into that.
Probably who is Brando. So anyway, we've got Dario Brando. He is there to try to loot the scene of the accident. Um, and he is a real son of a.
Gujarati.
He is not only taking this poor dying man's wedding ring, he thinks he might plunder his teeth as well. So first he takes his wedding ring, then he tries to see what's in this case, and it is this mysterious mask. What does this mask look like to you, sweetie? Where would you say it's from? Like what country?
Japan, if anywhere, I guess. It's
It
like
does
one of
kind
those
of look like a
kabuki
no
things.
mask. And Dario decides it would be a good idea to try to get those teeth because he can get a good price for those, which is a very like Les Miserables thing to do. But this wakes up our unconscious man who reveals himself to be George Joestar. Um, I'm going to save you the guessing game and say that George Joestar is not named after somebody. Um, Iraqi had very strong feelings that he wanted to have like a reduplicative, is I think the linguistic terms, name for his hero. So he wanted a j sound. And so the dad is George. And I think Joestar just sounds really cool. I mean, I would be the first to say I think it sounds really cool. So George wakes up, sees Dario trying to steal from him, and pulls an Eric from the Little Mermaid move. Oh, you're here to save me. Um, maybe not. And then he is so grateful that he promises that the Joestar family will repay its debt to the Brando family. The blood pooling from the accident swirls around the mask, makes these like Wolverine things pop out in a very cool way, and it hops around. And then it's 12 years later.
7 years after the credits?
I guess.
Did you find that a little bit clumsy?
Yeah, again, I think why isn't this mask gonna inspire somebody to kick ass or something?
You
Or
really want this mask. Okay. Well, that's fair. Well, we're not getting the mask. What we are getting is kind of like a montage of contrasting lives, different father son relationships. We've got stately Joestar Manor, where George is sadly a widower, but he's living large. He's got servants, he's got grounds, he's got fountains. He's got an adorable 12-year-old son named Jonathan, who is going to be our protagonist. And he is telling Jonathan, go play with your dog. It's like a really carefree, it's actually kind of American more than English, like boy and his dog, ideal life. And then we are cutting to a very different father and son. We've got Dario. He's sick in bed. He's clearly drunk. He's screaming at his son to go get him some more booze. And then we meet this son, Dio. First impressions of Dio Brando, babe.
um, well, he's he's blonde, which is
He
never
is
good.
so blonde. It's never good. Okay, we can work with this. We can roll with finding out new things about our partners as we go. Um, do you feel at all sad for Dio in this moment? Because it's quite an interesting character introduction. On the one hand, Dio is, I would say, inarguably a beautiful looking character. Like his character design is top notch in terms of just like it's compelling, it's different, it's interesting. The way that Araki drew the eyes was considered extremely groundbreaking and had a lot of influence on anime characters, manga characters, I should say, that would come after Dio. Um, and Dio was offering to get his father some medication, and his father says, "No, I want booze," and throws a bottle at him. Do you feel bad for Dio at all?
I think you touch an interesting point with the character design. He looks too healthy.
He
He's
looks
not
too
This is
Interesting.
supposed to be Victorian England. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not a. He's not my archetype of a Victorian sort of
Urchin.
street urchin. He
Yeah.
looks too well fed.
Yeah, this is a
And
really
he looks a bit like he
interesting.
works out as well.
He does.
He's not Uriah Heep.
No, he's definitely not, or the Artful Dodger, or any of those people. But maybe this would be should this be a place where I pause and have a quick Dickensian aside? Because I have not been able to confirm this anywhere, but I strongly believe that not only was Araki drawing on Charles Dickens for this arc, he was drawing on a specific Charles Dickens work, The Life and Adventures of Nicholas Nickleby, which had been turned into an incredibly popular stage show in 1980, then got revived in 1986, the same year that Araki's writing, to go on a world tour. Um, there's the similarity of names, Jonathan Joestar, Nicholas Nickleby. There's all the urchins. There's the class divide. There are so many things that, in fact, I'm thinking I might make a separate short about it, and I won't go into it here. But people, I'm putting it out there. I think Araki might have seen or read about some version of this Nicholas Nickleby stage play. Anyway, moving on. Little Dio. He looks awfully healthy. He's kind of cut. Let's talk about his name for a second. Do you know we've got the Brando from Marlin? Dio? He's named after Ronnie James Dio. He
Who?
is. Smile when you say that. He is like a god of metal. I love him very much. Holy Diver, Lock Up the Wolves, Rainbow in the Dark. No, none of this means anything to you because you are a freaking goth. But that's fine. That's fine. We can roll with it. He's a metal guy, which kind of makes sense for someone who's a little rough around the edges, right? Yeah?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so.
Okay. Anyway. Poor little Dio. Instead of kisses, he gets kicks. It's not easy. He goes out, he's hustling some random guy at chess for alcohol money for his father. He is leading a very different kind of life from Jonathan Joestar. And you could be forgiven for thinking, hey, this isn't totally fair. So he hustles for chess, hustles at chess for money. The guy ends up losing, but then beats him up. So we've got a big guy picking on a little guy. Then we cut to another scene of bullying, which is a young girl who is very, very well. I'll ask you, what's your impression of this young girl that we're meeting?
Oh, yeah. I thought you. I found it very hard to connect with her. She seemed a bit generic.
She is a bit generic. You're not wrong about that, but that can change. That's the fun thing about TV is like people can change from episode one. This is Irina Pendleton. Sometimes they pronounce it Erina. Can you guess where her name might come from? I'll give you a hint. It's a song title. Erina.
Again, I
No idea. It's okay. It's one that I guarantee you know. She picks up the rice at the church where the wedding has been.
Eleanor Rigby.
She's Eleanor Rigby. If you transpose Eleanor to Japanese, it comes out Erina. And this is a fun feature of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I could do a whole sidebar here about how Japanese is a syllabic language instead of an alphabetical kind of language, but we're not getting into it. Just know that she is named after Eleanor Rigby. We don't need to know that. It's just fun to know that. Anyway, so poor little Erina Pendleton. She looks like a Disney princess. She's got long blonde hair, big blue eyes, and she is being bullied by two mean urchins. Here we finally have some urchins who are kind of proper urchins.
They're still very well fed, urchins.
They're very well fed. They're very healthy. And we're really introduced to one of Araki's most fascinating theories, which is that to be wealthy in the Victorian era was a bad thing for an English child. It's really strange. But this idea that the working class kids are picking on the poor little rich kids is a thread that's going to run through Phantom Blood. What do you think about that?
I mean, well, this is one of the reasons why. I mean, it's a very rural setting. I mean, Victorian England was famously becoming less and less rural,
Indeed.
and so which is why and the architecture and the scene in the town was coded to me as Germany. It's an interesting proposition. I'd like to see him develop his thesis in this respect because my take is it's better than being poor, particularly in uh, probably showing my historical background. You'll end up in a poorhouse if you're
Yes,
poor,
exactly.
which isn't nice. So
It's not nice. I mean, like a poorhouse if you're lucky, honestly. I could go into a whole sidebar. Folks at home, I did quite a lot of Victorian literature when I was at university. So, like, this is an area of interest for me. But one thing I think we have to accept is that this isn't really England. This is Joe Jengland. You know,
yeah, no,
this
absolutely.
is a
I'm not
different
thinking. I
alternate
don't. I'm not
version.
thinking of it as a
As a, no, it's not
critique,
meant
a
to be.
historical
No,
critique of
no.
mid 19th century
It's just
Britain.
it's kind of fascinating. And it maybe it says something about what was going on in 1980s Japan, which was having this, I believe I've read that it was the single biggest economic bubble in recorded history in the 80s. And all of a sudden, people were experiencing extreme wealth, and maybe, I maybe people were being teased for having too much money and not fitting in. One thing is definitely for sure, Japan has very much got a reputation as a society where you don't want to stand out. You don't necessarily want to be exceptional because it's about collectivism. So, just interesting things to notice. Anyway, so we've got two little urchin boys, and it's almost like kind of a
Angelo Karagiri.
light we've got going on here because they've got Aaron as doll and they want to take off its clothes to see if it's got real girl parts, as they call it, underneath. And who should burst in on the scene but our boy, Jonathan Joestar, nobly defends her by getting his ass handed to him because it's two against one, and the two are bigger and better fighters than he is. And then when he mops up his blood with his monogrammed handkerchief, the bullies realize, oh, he's the Joestar kid. He's really rich. We better beat him even harder. And then we cut away. In this moment, hun, what are you feeling about Jonathan? You've barely seen him before this point. All you saw was him going out to play with his dog. Now he's getting beaten up to save some girl. Any feelings, any emotions coming through yet?
Um, I think that he needed to sort of like I, it's very hard. I think that he I was more concerned about her than anything
Sure.
else. And I think he was just being a bit of a he was trying his best, wasn't he?
He was,
He's learning.
no, he was
He's
doing his
learning.
best. But do you feel like he's a little bit like maybe a little bit cocky?
Not at this point, no.
No?
I
Okay.
think he's less he, he's he's naive.
He's naive. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, he is naive. He's extremely naive. You are not wrong about that. And then we cut to somebody who knows how to appreciate money. We've got Dario Brando, who is now dying from this mysterious illness that he's been suffering from. And he is giving his son Dio a letter telling him, in essence, as Reba McEntire once said, here's your one chance, fancy, don't let me down. This is your ticket out of the slums. This idiot George Joestar thinks he owes me one, and you take this letter to him, and maybe you can have a better future. Question that I have at this moment, and maybe you're sharing, why didn't Dario use this sooner? It's been 12 years. He's like dying slowly in the slums. Why didn't he go to George Joestar and say, like, can you lend me a fiver?
I'm not sure that would have been good for the narrative. Um,
That's probably it. You're probably not wrong. But I always think about this because Dario is I mean, this is a man who is so resourceful. He's not going to stop at stealing your ring. He's going to take the teeth out of your mouth. And he has like somehow selflessly waited to give his son this better chance. Maybe we can interpret this as like there's a glimmer of something better there, like a sense of fatherly affection, but maybe not. Maybe it is just plot convenience. Okay, so then we're back to Jojo, who has been thoroughly defeated, poor kid, by these bullies. And Irina says, gee, thanks a bunch, my hero. And he says, I didn't do it for you. And if this were a musical, which sidebar, there is a Phantom Blood musical. We can talk about that another time. But if this were a musical, this would be what they call the I Want song. When you have, like, to go back to The Little Mermaid, when Ariel sings Part of Your World, or in Beauty and the Beast, when Belle says, I want so much more than this provincial town, or when Tracy Turnblatt says, give me a chance, because when I start to dance, I'm a movie star. This is where Jonathan tells the audience what his story goal is going to be. And I'm actually going to quote it from the subtitles because I think it's that important. All I want is to conduct myself as a gentleman. A true gentleman has no fear. He'll fight for those who can't. Even knowing the fight has no chance of winning, he'll enter the fray. And I get the sense, I don't know if this was your thought. My immediate thought was somebody told him this, and that somebody is George Joestar. He is parroting the lesson, the legacy that his father has given him. And then when you contrast it to what Dario just told Dio, like, son, go take all you can get from these idiots, it really sets up that question of who made these boys what they are? Is it a nature that they inherited, or is it a lesson that their fathers taught them? What do you think, babe?
I
Just in
think
this
probably a
moment.
lesson that they're at this moment is a lesson that their fathers taught them.
That's how it hits me. And also I have to ask because I had the first time I watched this, I had a big emotional reaction to Jonathan saying this. Did you have any kind of reaction? I'm not telling you what that reaction was. I'm just asking.
I gotta confess that I didn't. I just thought he was a bit of a sap.
Sorry. Pix is going absolutely nuts downstairs. Okay. So you thought he was a bit of a sap. I thought he was a bit of a Darby because what an awful thing to say to this poor girl. Like, this isn't about you, honey. This is about me and my code of conduct, and I'm a gentleman.
Yeah, but he didn't know her before this, did he?
He didn't know her, but I think what a gentleman, an actual gentleman, would say is something like, are you all right? Can I help you get home? Something along those lines.
You have to learn to be a gentleman and please the ladies.
So, all I'm saying is, I think we've got some room for growth with our young JoJo. All right, moving on. Now we've had Jonathan's I Want song. Now we're going to get Dio's I Want song. Dario is dead. Dio is standing at his grave and monologuing. And here is what Dio has to say. The riches that exceeded your grasp, I will claim them in excess. You lacked the cunning to take what you wanted, but I'll prevail. The Joestars will be the key. Yikes. Okay, so in this moment, how are you feeling about Dio? Are you kind of like, oh
Um,
my God, I want to see what he does next? Or are you like, uh-oh, or how do you feel?
I'm thinking he's gonna go out there and prove to the world that he can be something, and he's gonna take the rich people's exploitative wealth.
Do you kind of feel a little sympathy for him?
Yeah.
I do. I really do. I'm like, we've got, I mean, Jonathan is a very sweet looking boy, but Dio is drop dead gorgeous in a like childish way. He's just a beautiful child. We know he's smart because he's been reading while his father is drinking, and he can beat people at chess. He's incredibly resourceful. He's got a lot of grit and determination. It's like, what's not to like with this guy? So now we've built up a weird little contrast between what these two boys are after. One wants to be a gentleman, one wants to have money. Isn't that a song? Actually, this is not a bit. I'm just like, you're a scholar. I'm a something. Let's make lots of money. I can't remember. You've got the brains. I've got the looks. Let's
Yes,
make
I
lots
think
of
you're saying
money.
Opportunities by the Pet Shop Boys.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. The Pet Shop Boys. Foreshadowing. Anyway. So now we're moving on to the most iconic scene that we have seen so far in terms of like things that get quoted in memes, visually quoted, um, things that everyone recognizes as soon as they see them. We get a carriage that looks suspiciously identical to that carriage from the opening scene. So maybe like that carriage was the start of an unhappy accident. Maybe this is going to be an unhappy accident. Carriage pulls up outside stately Joestar Manor. Jojo is waiting by the fountain, looking like a good boy. And then door flings open, sky turns red. Jeez Louise, Dio leaps out on the ground in what I would consider to be the first official JoJo pose. Did you have any like, oh my God, kind of a feeling? Or were you just like, why did the action stop?
Thought it was a no. I thought this is very stylized, and I'm not, unlike yourself, I'm not particularly au fait with the visual language of it, and I think it was all. I could see that there was something significant happening, but I thought I'll ask later exactly what that is.
You know, I actually only wish that I had the sophisticated vocabulary to talk about what is going on visually in this moment. All I can say is that it feels incredibly dramatic and iconic, and it's so exciting. And you're just like, okay, now something is happening. All of the rest was just a lead up. Now the story proper is really starting. Um, oops, just popping over to the next thing of my notes. And then, okay, then we have moving on from this defining moment of the first JoJo pose, we have the introduction of a trope we'll see all throughout JoJo, although not always as literally as this, which its literal actual name is kick the dog. And it is a trope that is meant to establish this character is serious bad news. So Dio jumps out, and we see Jonathan's beloved dog, Danny, a Harlequin Great Dane, which, as you know, sweetie, my dream since I was a teenager to own a Harlequin Great Dane. But that's all aside. So Danny runs up, wants to say hi to Dio because he's such a good boy, and Dio kicks him brutally. And it's not like a cute little quick cutaway and we hear him squeal, but we don't see anything. We see blood, we see broken teeth, we see Danny cowering on the ground. It is truly shocking. Were you shocked?
Yes, yes, I think so. I thought he was dead.
Yeah, it was awful. I mean, this is the moment when I was first watching the anime where I hit pause and I said, I'm not going to finish this. I don't think I can watch this because if there is anything on this earth that I care about, it is dogs. And to see a dog get hurt so badly and so graphically was unbelievably disturbing. But then the flip side of that is I said to myself, I have got to see what they do next. If they're willing to show this and go this far, I just have to watch a little bit further. I'm still confused why I ever watched the rest of the entire series. I'm not going to lie. So before Jojo can give Dio or attempt to give Dio the beating that he richly deserves in this moment, George Joestar shows up and Dio becomes this absolute Eddie Haskell, which is a reference I'm sure you don't know. But he was a character on Leave It to Beaver who was a gigantic troublemaker and instigator. And as soon as the parents showed up, he'd be like, "Oh, gee, Mrs. Cleaver, you look so beautiful today. I was just telling Wally and Beeve that we should really behave and not be hooligans, but they insisted on being hooligans." It's like the worst, weaseliest, most annoying person that you, a 12-year-old boy, could have in your life. And he's here. And his name is Dio. And George, the dad, announces that Dio is officially his new son. He's taken into the mansion. He's presented to all the servants. And incidentally, just in case we were confused and thought, oh, maybe Dio just kicked the dog because he was afraid, which is what he tells George, Dio then takes the opportunity to smack Jonathan and let him know he was not afraid at all. He just hates dogs because they fawn over undeserving people, which is exactly why I love dogs. So, really not vibing with Dio in this moment and having a lot of complicated, conflicting feelings. And as Dio arrives and goes up the stairs, we see him noticing, honey, what are you most curious about?
The mask.
The mask. What the hell is going on with that mask? It's just hanging there on the wall. Jeez Louise. And now we have a little montage to show us that Dio is the best. He's better at everything than JoJo could ever hope to be. He has better table manners. He is smarter. He's better at boxing, which we see when he beats JoJo in a quote unquote friendly boxing match in front of all JoJo's friends. And he helpfully, Dio, that is, helpfully does a little aside to us, the audience, to let us know the reason he can beat JoJo so easily, even though JoJo's very good at boxing, Dio has had to scrabble in the slums and fight for everything he's ever had in a way that JoJo, the spoiled brat, never had to. And then we see the Machiavellianism of sorry, I'm just checking my notes of Dio. So sorry. Then we see the Machiavellianism of Dio because not only has he impressed all of JoJo's friends by beating JoJo in this boxing match, he says, I'm going to teach all of you how to do just as well at boxing. The only thing is you can't tell JoJo because he can't keep a secret. How did you feel about this bit, babe?
Yeah, no, Machiavellian is the right word, I think. Definitely.
I had a feeling that this in particular would really grind your gears because if there's one thing I know about you, you don't like being, well, not only do you not like being, you don't like to see people being accused of things they haven't actually done. So it is, and I don't like it either. And just in case we were wondering, why is Dio being such a huge Dio? He helpfully monologues and tells us that he is going to destroy Jonathan by making him unbearably lonely and steal the life that he was meant to have. But Jonathan still has one friend, which is Danny. Poor sweet Danny. Oh, another little sidebar about names. Can you guess Danny's namesake? I don't think you can. It's a song title again. It's a
Is
song that
it?
I love.
I thought it might be Danny LaRue, the cross dresser from 70s, 80s light entertainment in the UK. Or
Sadly,
maybe,
no. It's
or,
it's it's a song that is about Danny. In fact, it's so much about Danny that it's Danny's song. You know that song?
no.
I'm not going to sing it for you because my voice is terrible, but you would absolutely know it if you heard it. It's a light rock song that is actually one of my favorite songs. It always just makes me feel really mellow. It is the lyrics of the song, as you know, I'm a huge lyrics person, are about somebody being very excited because he's going to have a son. And he's just like so full of joy and plans about what this little boy Danny's life is going to be and how he's going to dote on his son. And I think that that's significant when you consider that that was Jonathan Joestar's life up until now. He was the son that George wanted so badly and built his whole world around. And now that world is crumbling down. So Jojo is sitting with Danny, and our little Disney princess Erina sneaks back to see him with his washed handkerchief and some grapes as a present, which she leaves and then sneaks away. And we both have this gigantic
Don't give
reaction.
dogs grapes, everybody.
Don't give dogs grapes. Please, for the love of God, if you take nothing else away from this, don't feed grapes to dogs. It will kill them. It's a very, very bad idea. Don't do it. Not grapes,
Anyway,
not raisins. Okay.
moving swiftly
Sorry.
on.
PSA over. But, okay. Leaving all that aside, Jonathan has actually got a kind of unexpected reaction based on his last interaction with Erina. Do you remember how he reacts to this?
He's happy
He is happy,
and he tosses
and
grapes in the air.
he tosses grapes in the air, which is a bad idea. But what does he say to her? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember
No,
that
fair
bit.
enough. He says, come back anytime, which if you think about when he saw her last time, he was saying, I don't care about you. I'm not doing this for you. And now he's like, hey, come back here. Let's be friends. Could it be that we're seeing some character growth?
Yes, but also lost all his other friends. And
Mm-hmm.
last time he was lying in a pool of blood.
That's fair. But do you think it's possible that losing all his other friends could be the mechanism for some character growth?
Ah, yes, definitely. Yes, that
Mm-hmm.
works.
Because if there's one thing that people say about Jonathan Joestar, especially this version of Jonathan Joestar, episode one, they don't like him because he's a spoiled brat. There's a wonderful interview with the voice actor of Jonathan Joestar. I can link it below if I can figure out how. Something called Joestar Radio. And he explains that he hated the character at first. Like he actually kind of like, oh, what's his face? Edmund Pattinson? No, Robert Pattinson. I got there and then. Robert Pattinson famously hated Edward in Twilight when he played him. Well, this voice actor did not care for Jonathan Joestar because he felt he was a spoiled brat. And I think we are starting to see some growth from that. Like, not that he was a bad kid, but just that he had everything handed him on a silver platter. Anyway, so now Jonathan has no friends, so he wants to be friends with Erina. And we get a cute montage of them doing cute things like going for a swim and carving names in a tree and general cuteness. And I am the kind of person who endorses a deep commitment, so I find my heart melting at all of this. Babe, what do you think?
Yes, I thought, but this isn't going to end well.
How right you are, because Dio is watching. Dio is always watching. He is skulking around like a creeper. And I think specifically skulking around like the big bad wolf because he is in the woods next to the tree with Jonathan and Erin's name. And you can see the little wheels turning in his brain as he watches. And just like the big bad wolf, he's coming out of the woods She's carrying a basket. He comes up to her and says something to the effect of, in fact, I wrote it down. So you're the reason Jojo's so happy despite my attempts to ruin his life. And then he grabs her and he kisses her and she fights and tears his shirt and is like, absolutely not. And she smacks him and he throws her in a puddle. And this is a real defining turning point, not just in episode 1, but in Phantom Blood. And one of the things that's really interesting about it is Dio's motivation here. What did you read it as being?
Oh, he wants to destroy Jonathan.
He does. They make it really explicitly clear. This isn't because he fancies Erina. I hear it pronounced both ways, so I don't know what the accepted way is. This isn't because he just wants to get a kiss because he's a bit hormonal. He has planned this, and we know he's planned this because right before he does it, he touches the names on the trees. He tells her, "Oh, you're the source of of Jojo's happiness," and he's made sure he has witnesses, which is absolutely wild to me. Again, the Machiavellianism of this 12-year-old boy is so extremely spooky. Did you find it weird that he's got his buddies there to watch him do this to her?
I thought that he did it. That was the point of them being there. Was
Yeah, I
like
mean,
they
he
everybody.
wants them there, but why does he
So
want them
they
there?
that so otherwise, Jonathan might not know.
Yes, I think that's exactly right. I think that is exactly right. He wants to make sure that Jonathan finds out because there's always the chance that Erina is so ashamed that she's going to keep it a secret. And then there's the chance that if Dio went to Jonathan and said, "Hey, guess what I did?" Jonathan doesn't believe him because, why would he believe Dio at any point when Dio is such a liar? And actually, I'm going to just pause this and go get Pixie. Hold on. So, in this great moment of triumph, Dio has achieved his goal of kissing Erina in front of some witnesses and throwing her into a mud puddle. And he says his taunting line.
You thought your first kiss would be Jojo, but it was I, Dio!
And the witnesses are in the background going,
The trouble I'd get into if I was brave as Dio! He just does what he wants, devil may care!
essentially, "Oh my God, bro, you're so cool. You're so cool. I wish I could be just like you." And interestingly, these are both some of the most iconic lines of dialogue, not just in Phantom Blood, but in all of JoJo. One is super popular in Japan, and one is super popular in the English speaking world. Can you guess which is which?
No, no. Go on. I'm quite interested now.
Are you interested? Okay. So in Japan, the line of dialogue and again, I'm taking this information from the Joestar radio interviews with the voice actors. The line of dialogue that the director made this poor actor say over and over and over again for hours because it was so important that he get it right. Let me see if I've got it written down. I don't think I do. Well, it is essentially, "Wow, he's so cool. I wish I could be exactly like him." And in the English speaking world, the line that is quoted the most is, "You thought it would be JoJo, but it was I, Dio." Or sometimes they quote it in the Japanese, which just the end bit, "Kono Dio da." And I wonder, like, why is why is it one way for one country and the other for another? Do you have a working hypothesis? Do you want to like throw out a wild guess? I don't think there's a right answer. I just think it's so fascinating.
It's sort of throwback to this like when I met you, I was better learner. Now I am the master. It's the kind same kind of thing. It's like I am the boss now.
Yeah, it is. It's so. The only thing I can think is that there's some kind of thing about reputation versus self-respect. Like for one group, it's all about the reputation of people saying, "Oh wow, he's so cool." And for another group, it's like, "How do you feel about yourself?" I think I'm so cool. I don't know. Is that stretching it? I don't know.
No, I think there's something there. But I say it's one of those things where you've spent a hell of a lot of time thinking about this, and I watched it half an hour ago, so I
No,
haven't
no,
had
sweetie, I'm
process.
not I'm not trying to I'm
No,
not
no,
trying
no.
to
I'm
pull
not saying you
rank.
are. It's just whoa. God, she's thought about this a lot.
I have thought about this a lot. Whenever you see me just staring off into space, washing the dishes or folding laundry, this is what I'm thinking about. Now you know. Kind of scary. Okay, so we've had these iconic moments of dialogue. And what is our heroine doing all this time? She's down in the mud, battered and bruised, and she's rinsing her mouth out with mud. This is where, and maybe, maybe I'm prejudiced. Maybe I'm a little bit of a simp for the ladies, but I think that this is a kick-ass moment when Aaron is like, I would rather have mud in my mouth than Dio spit. Because not only is it a very bold statement, and it's a very kind of unladylike thing to do. You know, so far, Erina's color palette has been all pastels, and she's blonde, and she's light blue eyes, and she's clean, and she's pure, and she's like, no, I will take this mud because it is my choice rather than take the dirt that you chose to put on me. I'm going to redefine this. And where I will go to bat again and again for Erina is Dio's world is completely rocked in this moment. He is so shocked that his color palette changes. He freeze frames. He is absolutely freaked out to see her rejecting him in such an unambiguous punk rock kind of way. And he smacks her again down in the mud. And he has to actually take a second and talk himself down because I think we are to infer that if he didn't get a hold of himself, he would be beating her to within an inch of her life for this. So in this moment, do you feel any differently about Erina, or is it just me talking her up?
Well, I mean, certainly it was a striking point, and I think that she is she's less of a pastel colored individual than she
She
was before.
is.
She's more primaries.
I'll tell you one thing that I was reflecting on just this last time watching it. She's done something that JoJo has not been able to do so far, which is actually touch Dio emotionally. And I think that that is not insignificant. I'll do a tiny sidebar, which is to say that Araki gets a lot of flack for not writing good enough women or not centering women enough, especially in this early incarnation of JoJo. He loves women. Like it's really clear with every woman character that comes on that he actually loves and respects women because he gives them a dimensionality that if you look at other manga from this era, they do not tend to have. And from the interviews I've read, his entire career, he's been fighting with his editors to get better female representation. So hats off, Araki. Anyway, now so we have a real sad turn of events. Erina is now crying and avoiding Jojo because she is super duper traumatized. Dio's fan club shows up and they're like, hey, guess why your girl is crying? And they don't actually even say, we don't see them say Dio kissed her. They just say, hey, guess why your girl is so upset? And Jojo's like, well, obviously, it's got to be Dio. And then we get such a cool sequence. Now, again, Phantom Blood, the anime, can get a lot of static for the animation not being that great. I read one animator say his assessment was it's a butt hair above stop motion. And it kind of is because there are a lot of stills, but the way that they employ those stills is so dramatic and effective. I think it's better than if they'd had a higher budget. But in this moment, they thought, we'll put the budget into this, and we get a point of view shot from Jonathan's point of view, running back home over the fountain, through the doors, into Joestar Manor to get things settled with his foster brother. And this is actually one of my favorite fight scenes in all of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. There are no supernatural powers, there are no weapons, there's not even like big, beefy adult men. There are just two people who are so angry at each other, doing the best they can to wail on each other. And there is this intense polarity. Jonathan is in green, Dio is in yellow, like yellow, all green. They're fighting on this checkerboard, black and white patterned floor. It's all about this polarity. Dio is so calm and cool and collected. Jonathan is so unbelievably, incandescently angry. And as we might expect, Jonathan is taking a beating. Poor guy. But after he takes a massive blow from Dio and realizes, oh my God, I can't win, he has this further realization, which is, oh my God, I can't stop. Because if I stop now, I will be cowering, is the word they use in the subtitles, cowering from Dio for the rest of my life. And then further, he goes on to think, and even if I wanted to do that, I can't live that way because it's not about me anymore. It's about Erina. And this is such an important moment for JoJo as a series, as well as JoJo as the character, because Araki's whole theory of what makes a successful shonen manga is, and I'm going to quote here from Manga in Theory and Practice, fighting for someone else is the royal road to writing a shonen manga hero. It's not about fighting for yourself and what you want. It's about fighting for the little guy who can't do their own fighting. And JoJo is going to take that on. So just as Dio is thinking that Jonathan is useless, which is, I think, the first usage of this word, muda, in Japanese, that is so important to this series. Keep your ears open for it in the future. Dio's thinking Jonathan is useless, and then Jonathan does something very ungentlemanly. Do you remember what it is? He headbutts him.
It's
It's
not
not,
ungentlemanly.
you don't think that's ungentlemanly? That's not
Why
like,
is that?
but
Well, it's not
because it's
Queensbury
like,
rules, is it? But
that's what I'm saying. It's not how you're taught to box, like at a
well,
formal
this isn't
academy.
boxing. This is a fight.
Exactly, exactly.
And
We
then
are,
the mask falls off and nothing happens with it.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But we will get to that, I promise. But Jonathan has gone from being this like constrained little Lord Fauntleroy who plays by the rules to like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the job done, including hurting himself really terribly because I have to imagine when you headbutt somebody as hard as he headbutts Dio, that hurts your head, right? It's
It
like,
depends, I guess.
yeah, if he has a hard enough head. But well, Dio is asking the same question that I'm asking, which is, and I'm quoting here,
How could a pampered brat like him best me in a fight?
and what do you think the answer is, sweetie? Who taught JoJo to fight like this?
His dad, Dio.
It's Dio. Dio has taught Jonathan to be a better fighter. Oops. In fact, I would argue that just about everything that Dio has done in this entire first episode has made Jonathan a bigger, better, stronger human being, which was not what he was trying to do, I'm sure. But anyway, so speaking of the mask, the fighting is so intense that some blood lands on the mask just to tease us and make us go, when the heck is this mask going to come into play? And they're fighting. And Dio, like the urchin he is, pulls a knife. It's very West Side Story. He's pulling out a knife and he's crying. JoJo has actually made Dio cry, which is a huge victory. But just as Dio is about to turn things up a notch with the knife, who appears?
Dad.
Dad is here. What does Dad think about this situation?
Well, he takes the side of the blondie.
Yeah. Hey, who doesn't love a blondie? Let's be real. Yes.
I haven't been blonde in many years, honey. I've forgotten.
You were blonde once. We should clarify that to the folks at home. When we met, we were both blonde. And we've both been a lot of different colors since. But anyway, so George appears, and to be fair to George, it does look like JoJo is beating up this crying boy who is bleeding and losing. So they both get punished. Oops a doops. And now we get to the part that I really don't want to linger over.
It's
But
very tastefully done, honey.
it is very tastefully done. I'm here to tell you that in the manga, it is not tastefully done. There are not a lot of differences between the manga and the anime adaptation. This is one of the differences. But we discover that poor sweet Danny, that we love so much, has been horribly killed in a way that is so brutal and cruel and nasty that it really challenges our feelings for Dio, whatever they may have been. And poor JoJo is just absolutely crushed. Life sucks for him. Everybody, by the way, thinks Danny was killed by a burglar who wanted to make sure that he didn't bark and alert the household. Nobody thinks it was Dio. Dio was at school. It couldn't have possibly been Dio, but JoJo knows it was Dio. And then the narrator comes in to tell us that, that JoJo is very sad. And he goes up to his room and cries. And again, in the manga, we actually get to see this, and it is really actually quite heartbreaking. He has no dog. He has no girlfriend. He effectively has no father. He is living with somebody who is basically Macaulay Culkin from The Good Son. But on the flip side of that, he's grown a lot as a person. Unfortunately, Dio has also grown a lot as a person. And we get another little song, another little monologue from Dio where he says that he realizes JoJo gets stronger the more he's hit. While my anger makes me vulnerable. And he resolves that he will master his temper so that he can become invulnerable. And then the narrator swoops in and tells us that 7 years go by.
7 years after the credits?
I guess.
And we look at the mask, and that's the end of the episode, which is a weird place to stop, if you ask me. Why not stop with Dio saying, I resolve that I will master my temper? And then we can start the next one with 7 years later. But I guess that's just me. And then we close with the incredibly iconic roundabout song over the credits. We're gonna end with some questions. And my hope is that people who watch this will participate and answer these questions, whichever of the questions that are interesting to them, in the comments, and then we can talk about it in the next episode. But maybe we'll have a little discussion about it now as well. Just the two of us building castles in the sky. Okay. So, number one, this whole idea that JoJo gets stronger the more he's hit. Araki's really, really into astrology, much like your wife. And Jonathan Joestar's sign is the Aries. This is like really the stereotype of the Aries is that they're headlong, they're impulsive, and the more you hit them, the harder they're going to hit back. Do you think that that's true in life? Have you seen people who become more dangerous the angrier they are? Or do you see more of the Dio model where you have to master your anger in order to be an
I
effective?
always differentiate between anger and rage.
Mm,
Anger is inevitable. It's healthy. It's justified. It's how one channels that anger, and that when anger becomes rage, then people become dangerous. That's
that's
my experience
interesting.
of life.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong intrinsically with anger. If you've never got anger in your whole life, there's something wrong with you. And rage is understandable as well, but I think that rage, unlike anger, is often, or in fact usually, counterproductive.
Mm.
Um, anyway, that's my hate news worth.
No, I think that's really good. I think it's interesting that the same trait could be a strength for one character and a weakness for another character. Do you think maybe there could be some truth there that like for some people when they get angry, they get like really laser beam focused, but for other people
Yes,
it
I
just
think it's
makes them
true of,
scattered and
well, it's how
stupid?
you channel the anger. Yeah, some people, I don't think anger in and of itself, but if you're able to be focused, then you can focus that anger. Um,
Mm.
but if you're not particularly disciplined, then it manifests itself as rage, and rage doesn't always result in like good superheroes like the Incredible Hulk.
はい、そういうことです
That's very true.
Sometimes the
I
the
mean,
opposite is true.
think about the Incredible Hulk for a second. He's not a very good superhero. He is really dangerous even to his own side. Sometimes they bring him in to work on a problem and then he becomes the problem. It's an interesting thing. And this theme of anger and how you handle your anger is definitely going to be one to watch out for through the whole JoJo experience. Okay, question two. So, I feel like I'm saying this so often, in manga and theory and practice, Araki says he broke his own rules with the early chapters of the manga that we're seeing in this first episode. Because normally, a mangaka should not leave the protagonist down and out for more than two chapter endings in a row. Readers don't like sad sacks, and if the hero keeps losing, they get depressed and stop reading. What do you think? Would you keep watching this show at this point if I weren't making you? Would you get depressed and just give up?
Well, if I didn't think that he was going to, I mean, at the moment, there is, yeah, he's a sad sack until the end, so that makes me interested. I've got to say that
Ah,
he doesn't have much, he doesn't have many flaws. I like a good
mm,
anti-hero,
mm-hmm,
and he's a nice bloke who's not very and he's getting, he's growing, but he hasn't got any moral flaws that need fixing. Um,
Mm.
and Dio is all he's just not very nice. He's
He's
not
not
he's got no real
redeeming
redeeming
qualities.
moral qualities except yeah, he's blonde.
He's cool though.
Yes, I mean
He's super
that's
cool.
yeah.
But no, I
I'm
take your
always one
point.
for your chaotic neutrals.
Yes, of course. But actually, this is an incredibly common response to Jonathan Joestar. What is interesting is I sort of had a similar like, nah, he's fine. He likes dogs. He's okay. As I went through and watched not just the entirety of Phantom Blood, but the entirety of the JoJo series, I became passionately fond of Jonathan Joestar. I really, really love him. And I can't necessarily defend that. I can't say, like, wow, he's absolutely fascinating and he's so complicated, but I really love him. So it'll be interesting to see if he grows on you like he's grown on me. Actually, this is a follow-up question. Oops, I might have to go back and cut some of this out. But question 3. In the Joestar radio interview, Kazuyuki Okitsu, who played Jonathan, said that he didn't like Jonathan at first because he was spoiled and Dio was way cooler. Would you agree? It's a bit repetitive from what we just said.
No, not really, because I think I didn't. I visually, I didn't really think that Dio was. He didn't come across. He just, as I said, he just looked too well fed.
You just didn't feel
He
sorry
had
enough for
teeth.
him.
I mean, jokes about British teeth aside, in the mid 19th century, you know,
No, it's
you're not going to
fair.
have a perfect set of dentures like Dio had. You're not going to have exquisitely manicured blonde shock of hair, and you're especially not at 12. You the diet that they ate. Oh, anyway, sorry, that's too
No,
stuff. But
no, it's fine. Yeah, you're
he
right. It
didn't
was all
come across to
carbs,
me.
right?
He was like he just I just thought, well, he's you're looking, if somebody who's come down up from the gutter, mate, you're looking pretty healthy
Looking
to
pretty
me.
good.
You're looking pretty good.
I will. I've already expressed my love for Jonathan. I'm just going to say at this point, my feelings for Dio are unbelievably complicated. They are so complicated. There's only one character in all of the JoJo verse for whom my feelings are more complicated. There are so many things about Dio that mean I should love him. He is a bad guy, which I love.
What?
He is a blondie, which I love.
What?
He's English, which I love.
Hello, Spike.
And I really enjoy how just efficient and intelligent he is. Then there's that dog thing. Like I can't root for somebody who hurts or kills a dog. It's just, but I have a grand unified theory of Dio, which we can get into at a later time. I will say one thing, which is that I don't think I've ever been angrier at a fictional character than I was at episode 1 Dio. Like I was like, I wanted to love you. Why won't you let me love you? Okay, question 5. So, anime parents, and I know that you're not familiar with all of the subgenres of anime, but anime parents are often shockingly mean. Are you shocked by George Joestar? What do you think is going on with him?
I just think he's as thick as two short planks.
It's a working theory. Can you?
He's
Yeah.
being robbed. He wakes up and he thinks he's being rescued. He's already grabbed his wedding ring. Um, and then he turns up and he doesn't see he's being played.
Yeah.
Not the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree, is he?
He's really not. I kind of relate though, to be honest. Um, yeah, I can't say anything because the theory that the grand unified theory of George Joestar that I developed watching this for the first time turned out to be correct. So I'm just not going to get into it, but just know that like I was very sad because I am the only child of a single parent, much like Jonathan Joestar with George Joestar, and I just think my world would have ended if my one parent had turned on me the way that George turned on Jonathan. Okay, question 6. You're going to love this question. That mask is getting a lot of attention. What do you think the deal is?
Let's come back to that.
Come back to that. You don't have,
yeah.
you don't want to just give like one wild guess what's going to happen
Well, I
with
thought
that
it was going to be
mask.
like Jim Carrey, and I still hope that it's going to be like Jim Carrey and the mask.
Okay.
You know, you put the mask on and you turn into this green-faced dancing dude who's superpowers and who gurns a lot.
Okay.
And the last question, question 7. We know that 7 years are going to pass between episode 1 and episode 2. What do you think is happening in those 7 years? How do you think Dio is behaving? What do you think Jonathan is up to?
Well, hopefully they'll learn to shave properly and get a better haircut. But I would imagine at the end he's like become the. I don't know how they made their money, but I'm guessing that Theo will become head of the money-making end of the factory or something.
How they made their money, actually, just a little quick sidebar, is a really interesting further example of the Joe Jangland versus actual England of it all, because George Joestar is apparently like Lord Joestar, but also I think he owns a factory and is a sir. It's really confusing. We can get into it as it develops, but it is this weird vision of Victorian England through the lens of 80s Japan, I think, where maybe, you know, you're the head of a Sony or something, but you're also kind of a nobleman. I don't know. I don't know. It is interesting. And again, I can't comment on what's going to happen because I know what's going to happen. So with all of that, it is now officially time to deploy the secret technique. So ham on, Joe Bros, and we'll see you next week.